Question time. What is your thoughts about the Israeli Gaza War? What is the Christian response? Another Christian response a thought that I just had is that this should not surprise Christians. Those who know God and those who know God's word should not really be surprised of what's happening, because Jesus foretold that it's going to be an age. Did you know that right after World War I, around some 240 major wars happened since after World War took place? 240 wars. Well, that just signifies really what Jesus was saying in the Gospel of Matthew chapter 24. He said about the end of times. He said about the coming age, the eschaton, the end of times. He said this: "You will see wars and rumors of wars," he said in Matthew chapter 24 verse 6. See that you are not alarmed, for this must take place, but the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famine and earthquake in various places. All of these are but the beginnings of the birth pains. Does this mean that Jesus is really coming a second time? No. Because Jesus said to be alert of all these things that happen. So first of all, you need to be alert that this is the time that we live in. And since the days that Jesus ascended into heaven, there's been thousands and hundreds of wars taking place. And obviously, he mentioned famines and earthquakes. These are the signs of not the coming of Christ, but the beginning of the birth pains. Because this is the reality, friends. What Jesus is trying to say is that the world is not going to get any better. The world is going to get worse and worse and worse. Look at the atmosphere around you. People are becoming more lovers of self than lovers of God. People are more cold-hearted, they're heartless, they're merciless, they are arrogant. We live in an age where it's full of the me, the individualistic idea. And people, how they respond to things like this has happened, the Gaza-Israeli war, it shouldn't be surprising what you're seeing, dear Christian, that Jesus said this is part of the future. This is what's going to happen. So it shouldn't really surprise you regarding Israel Gaza. But also just to note as well, there's a much more bigger issue than the Israel Gaza war, because underneath the surface of this war that's happening, there is something else far bigger. There is a greater issue, and it's actually described in Ephesians chapter 6. And really what's the description of that is that we live in a spiritual warfare. And this is a fact that Christians have to remember, that there is a battle, a spiritual battle taking place. Listen to what Paul says: "Finally, be strong in the Lord and in the strength of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the schemes or the wiles of the devil, or the plans of the devil. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places." So Paul is saying that everything that's happening in the world, behind the superficial surface of the Ukraine-Russian war, the Israeli Gaza war, Christians should interpret it as this is in fact a war of ideas, of ideological war. This is a spiritual war between light and darkness, between goodness and evil, between righteousness and unrighteousness, between God and between evil mankind. Okay, so this is how we should interpret the times that we're living. So, and this helps Christians to know how to respond to this. And this consequently means that they are less likely to be those who take sides, really. At the end of the day, we make a moral decision and respond to what is needed to be said, but this helps us realize that the real enemy behind all of the deaths that's happened, the real enemy behind all of the destruction and the division, and the one who put people against each other really is Satan. And it means that That's where we need to focus our attention, on the false ideologies. We need to focus on where is the root coming from? What is the root issue? If somebody claims to come from God and say to you, you must destroy Israel, you must destroy Palestine, or you must do this and you must do that, and these people who listen to this guy go out and they make war and they kill and do that, what do their actions really tell you? The actions and behaviors that they do tell us their fruits, but a fruit has a tree. Okay, so what is the tree? What is the root of the tree? What is the seed? What is that? And what is that? And if we find out what that is, then that's the target we need to focus on. And I submit to you that it comes from false religion. A false religion that believes in a false idea of what love is, a false view of truth, a false view of God and how he is to worship, a false view of everything. And that's where it all begins. That's why it is a spiritual issue here, And these are my third video and thoughts regarding the Israeli Gaza war.